Welcome back to Major Intonio's presentation of 13 Days, The Chronicle of an Escape from a German Prison, by John Caunter. Chapter 10, Exit Blank, Sheds.
A quiet day amid peaceful surroundings counteracted the effects of the excitement of the previous night. We slept quite well by reason of the good conditions, and but for the soreness of Fox's heel, and my left ankle would have felt extremely fit. We were guilty during the afternoon of a piece of carelessness which nearly gave us away. Fox and Blank were near the edge of our hiding place and went to sleep with some of our kit spread about the ground round them. I was asleep further inside our cover, but my boots were with theirs drying in the sun. Suddenly, Fox woke up and saw a woman not 50 yards from them, planting something in the field and gradually moving in our direction as she worked. Waking Blank and seizing all the kit he could find, he crawled into the depths of our hiding place, followed by Blank, who had got hold of other portions of our impedimenta. An hour or so later, the woman departed, and we found that one of my boots had remained in the open all the time. We decided that in all probability she had not seen it, and so had no fears of discovery due to her. The night's march began at 10 p.m., but it proved to be too early an hour for such nightbirds as we. Hardly had we moved 200 yards from our cover when a youth with a shotgun, prowling round in search of rabbits, saw us from about 60 yards away. We legged it and soon left him wondering what 3 rough-looking men with heavy bags and of military age were doing in that part of the country. Making excellent progress that night, we crossed a wild stretch of heath in the early hours of the morning and then got back to more of the abominable cornland again. Crossing a railway and passing a cottage by the level crossing, we were greeted with the usual barking of a house dog. Thursday, 28th June. It was now high time to think of our hiding place for the day. Nothing presented itself, and we carried on with our rush westwards. Cover after cover, we examined without finding what we wanted, and at last, hearing German voices not far off, we were forced to adopt the first thing which presented itself. This proved to be a wood cut up with broad drives, with hardly any undergrowth in it. We had to make the best of a bad job, and by making a kind of zareba of dead branches, some sort of cover from view from anyone more than 50 yards away was possible. The sound of voices on all sides of the wood, which was only about 200 to 300 yards wide, and the yapping of the ever-present dogs, together with the fact that half-cut hayfields touched the wood on 2 sides, made it imperative that we should have a sentry all the time. After a hot drink and a breakfast of beef and biscuits, which made us feel a little warmer, Fox and I lay down to sleep. Blank, who had asked for the first watch for the 2 hours till 7 a.m. because he said he was too cold to sleep, was to undertake the duties of sentry. It is necessary to state here that, now we were so rapidly approaching the Ems River, Blank had begun to have serious misgivings about his ability to swim it. We had fully made up our minds that there was to be no looking for boats or building of rafts for that river. The Germans, we knew, were certain to have this obstacle well guarded, and the only chance of success, and that but a slight one, lay in dashing through the watchers and swimming it. Blank had spoken of trying to find a boat in order to tackle the Ems on his own. Well, Fox and I went to sleep feeling fairly secure with a sentry to warn us in time to get away should we be discovered. After about an hour, we both woke up, instinctively feeling something was wrong. Blank had disappeared. On looking out of our hiding place, I saw him lying fast asleep in the full sunlight, right in the middle of the drive some 50 yards away. We woke him up by throwing some pieces of wood until we hit him. He came back to our hiding place, and naturally, Fox and I felt much annoyed that the trust we had put in his watching should have been betrayed. This incident, combined with Blank's fears for the future, when in all probability he would have to swim the Ems, made it imperative for us to come to some arrangement. It was decided that Blank should go on by himself from this point. We arranged to divide up our supplies and equipment so that he should have a third. Accordingly, after I had copied the map for him, all was ready by noon for his departure. Taking a third of the food, a water bottle, compass, and a copy of the map, he left us, determining to push on by day as he was unable to find his way at night by himself. The line he decided to follow involved his following the main road through a large military center. However, he hoped to get through this place, trusting to his luck, civilian clothes, and a fair knowledge of German to assist him. Leaving us lying in our hiding place, he was soon out of sight, and we saw or heard nothing more of him. At about 10 o'clock, we, Fox and I, began our march. We struck northwards now in order to get off the line taken by Blank in the morning, in case he had been caught and had thus made the Germans more wide awake. Proceeding at a decent pace, we soon came in sight of some sheds which lay directly on our line of march. Being curious and feeling much more confident, as we were now only two, we decided to go as close to the sheds as we dared in order to get a good look at them. We were able to see them excellently, although we never got very close to them. What prevented us from approaching any nearer was the sound of a concertina issuing from a hut 100 yards from us. German voices could also be heard, so we considered that we had done all that could be done and left the place exceedingly rapidly, feeling that we should be safer when we had put a few miles between these sheds and ourselves. A very wooded country now lay before us, and we made good progress by walking along the fire cuts and drives, which conveniently ran east and west. We soon struck a main road, which we followed for some time. While proceeding along this, a cyclist dashed past us, making practically no noise, so we had no time in which to take cover. He looked at us when passing, but it was so dark under the trees that he could not have got any impression of our appearance. By now, both of us were suffering very much from our feet, and on leaving the main road and taking to rough tracks over wild country, we suffered intensely owing to the inequalities of the ground. Friday, 29th June. At about 4:30 a.m., thoroughly tired out, but pleased with the distance traveled that night, we found a place in which to hide. A rest till noon, and then feeling that we had barely sufficient food for the distance still to be covered, we decided to try and push forward a mile or so during the afternoon in the rough country of that distance. Leaving our hiding place at about 3 p.m., we cautiously crossed a road and continued slowly working forward till about 6 o'clock. Here, finding excellent cover in a very thick fir plantation, we halted until dark. We were well north now of our original route, and we must have been more than 12 miles away from the east and west line Blank had taken. At first, we had been worried over the idea of his probable capture affecting us also. But remembering that the Germans did not know that the parties had amalgamated and were looking for one single man and two in a separate party, for the original report from the camp must have started the existence of two separate escapes, we felt much reassured. If they caught Blank, they would naturally conclude that they had recaptured me, and that the original party of two might be anywhere and nowhere in particular.
This concludes today's reading of 13 Days, The Chronicle of an Escape from a German Prison, by John Caunter. Join us also the day after tomorrow for the subsequent part. Subscribe to Major Intonio's channel. Thank you for listening, and so long.